So The Barn is an independent horror movie that was released in 2016. And this is one that I've heard a lot of talk about in a lot of podcasts and a lot of YouTube channels, ones that I follow often in the horror community, especially in general, I will say. And a lot of people have been talking about this one, so it's been on my to be watched for a while. And I finally got the opportunity on Tubi again to stream it and check it out for myself and give it a pre-Halloween watch. And I I liked I liked most of it. Like I liked the style that it was going for. I thought they could have done more with the plot side of it, but they definitely like hit solid tens out of tens with certain elements about it. The throwbacks, like style, they give it this grainy drive-in style cinematography and visuals and color palettes and all that. They even do the little cigarette burner marks every once in a while. So it definitely feels retro in that sense. They do some dubbing that like it's obvious that they're doing this on purpose to make it hokier and more like 70s 80s kind of dialogue and stuff like that. The dialogue is written again on purpose to be that throwback 80s nostalgia feel to it. And they stylistically this film is awesome, and my gosh, does this one like paint itself and drip Halloween, like paint itself in Halloween elements and just drip in that feeling of October and of fall and the weather. Like you watch this movie, you can feel the weather. It's really well done in that sense. The actors, middle of the road. They deliver exactly what they were told to. Some of them are caricatures of themselves. You know, your typical stereotype characters. There's of course, you know, sex in a van, which you're gonna get in a throwback horror movie for sure, and titty shot, which is nice. And it checks the boxes. You know, like it's not like a 10 out of 10 overall. It's not a perfect Halloween film. I mean, if you're putting it side by side with like Halloween 3 and Trick or Treat, it's it aims for those, but it's and I'm not trying to like bash the movie. I'm not putting it down because I loved it. I'm just saying in comparison with other things. There's a lot in the movie that you've seen before, but there's a lot of more in the movie that like I said, nails it bullseye right on. 10 out of 10 with its stylistic choices. But story wise, you have these kids in this small town. I forget, I don't think they mentioned the name of the town, but it's a really small town. And the there's a there's a woman played by Linnea Quigley that she works for the church, but I'm not sure if she works for the school as well. One of the kids in the small town is Halloween obsessed, but these kids are about to graduate high school, and all of the kids, and especially this one in particular named Sam, is being hounded for still being like kiddish, like for liking Halloween and wanting to go trick or treat and stuff like that. He's the kid who knows all the lore of Halloween. He knows the history of it, and he's always talking about Halloween. He's the obsessed kid. And you have this other kid who works at this Halloween attraction show. This movie takes place on Devil's Night. And he also, his name is Josh, I think, or Chris or Josh, one of them. I know there's a Chris and a Josh. I just forget what the name of the specific kid was. But he likes to pull pranks and scare kids. And he has this like bucket that says treats on it as if it's supposed to be candy. And when the kids go up to it, this guy in a devil costume pops out. And this Linnea Quigley character, she plays Mrs. Barndale, something like that. She gets this kid in shit for scaring the kitties and all that, and she gives him a chore, you should say, like a small town chore, to go collect for the food bank on Halloween night because he wants to trick or treat so bad. And she gives him and this other kid, Sam, the position of going to collect charity items on Halloween night, door to door, since they love to trick or treat and stuff like that. So that's her mission for them. One of them, Josh, I think it's Josh. No, yeah, I think it's Josh, so I'm just gonna call him Josh. If it's Chris, my mistake. But he comes up with the brilliant idea of going to another town and doing this because there is this rock band playing in another town, and they're putting on a concert, and they really want to go see the concert. So he tells Sam, why don't we get our friends together, you and I, we grab a van, we borrow Chris's van, I think, and go to this other town, do the collecting there. We'll get a bunch of candy because Mrs. Barndale never said it had to be food. She never specified that it couldn't be candy that we're collecting. So we can collect candy in this other town, and then we can drive to the concert and, check the concert out, and then come back home and with a bunch of candy, and we'll be like the heroes of the town, because this town is apparently so small that they want to be legends of the town by doing this crazy thing, because it doesn't take too much craziness to be known in this tiny little town apparently. There's a character as well that promotes this band that's playing, this rock band. His name is Dr. Rock, and he's hilarious. He's played by, I think it's Ari Lyer. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but basically the original Jason, the guy who played as a child actor the little Jason in Friday the 13th, that guy. He's very famous for that specific reason. He's the first Jason, and he goes to a bunch of Comic Cons and stuff like that. But he's playing Dr. Rock, and he's pretty hilarious. Speaking of a character named Dr. Rock, this film gave me like very tame House of a Thousand Corpses vibes. Dr. Satan is what I'm referencing, and I can see a lot of like Rob Zombie inspiration in this movie. At least I can. I don't like stylistically. It seems that way, or at least it seems like a movie that Rob Zombie would probably really enjoy. But it seems like it has a lot of Rob Zombie's trickeries and like subject matter that he would enjoy, just way 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 more tame than a zombie film, Rob Zombie film. But I definitely noticed that, and I loved Dr. Rock's character. Even though he's a side character, he's hilarious, and he really sells it with his long hair and his quirkiness to him. He almost looks like a Weird Al kind of style character, but more horror centric kind of. And I like the kind of adventures that these kids go through when they land in this small town, and then they come across this barn that's haunted supposedly. 30 years prior, there was a situation where these other little kids in 1959. I like how this film takes place in 1989 as well, so you get that throwback. In 1959, these kids were murdered by knocking on this barn 3 times and saying trick or treat 3 times. And this barn has this legend with these 3 villains, which, again, the villains are awesome. You get this miner character, you get this pumpkin head character, and you get this scarecrow character. And there's some effects where, like, they'll show electricity going on all of them as if they're actual entities. The electricity is very CGI, but it doesn't matter because it goes with the aesthetic of the film. And this film also it's one of those that uses its budget fantastically to its advantage, and really milks the budget that they had to make a really, really entertaining feature. I did hear in a little bit of trivia on IMDb that this film actually stopped mid-production because they were going through so many issues, but the director's vision was so strong that he actually convinced the cast to keep going afterwards. So there was a lull, I guess, in production, and then it continued, and we actually got the film out, which is great because it's a really effective and great Halloween film in my opinion, and one to definitely be checked out. But don't want to lose. Yeah, the villains. Don't want to lose my train of thought too much. The villains are great. They're very mostly practical, I think. Maybe a mix of practical and CGI, but well, they are a mix of practical and CGI, obviously. But they look good. Like when they're just dressed up, just the way they are put together, they look fantastic. I love the Pumpkinhead especially. He actually has flames in his eyes that move and stuff like that, and it looks like he's glowing from the inside of his pumpkin head. And he's probably my favorite of the 3, for sure. There is a cool scene where one of the deaths, this kid actually has his skull carved out, and they put lights in his skull. kind of reminiscent to what happened in Terrifier when they did the same thing. It's kind of, and Halloween Kills as well, or either Halloween 2018 or Halloween Kills. I think it was Halloween Kills though, where the guy has lights inside of his skull and his eyes are glowing. They've put that trope in a few horror films lately, and I really like that. I really like that one. And one of the kids even says like, "It's impossible to carve somebody's skull out." Well, apparently not. Sam is funny. A lot of the actors, though, like I said, they really overact, and I'm just gonna assume that that was what they were asked to do. But my gosh, do they overact, and do they say like really hokey lines that I think they were trying to aim at 80s dialogue. And some of the shit they say is just really goofy sometimes. I think one of them referred to like, he was trying to say that's gross, but he says that is so grody or something like that. Like, that is so grody. It's just weird, like, things that you never hear. And it's like, what the fuck did you just say? Shit like that. But outside of like some really overacting, sorry, and some really hokey dialogue, and hokey dubs, because it's very obvious to tell that all of the characters are dubbed over. Whether it's by the same actors or different actors, I think it would be dubbed over by the same actors, I'm assuming. It's very obvious, and you can tell that it's somebody speaking over the characters. So all of them are great. There's like a priest slash preacher character that pops up and ends up being in like the evil of that small town, a different small town, the one that they go to where the barn is located. And there's this whole lore of these three monsters that are coming for treats, which is basically human flesh, and they are summoned whenever somebody knocks on the barn door and says "trick or treat" 3 times, which these kids did in 1989. The kids that are going to the concert, and yeah, it's a cool movie that screams Halloween and plays the Halloween subject matter very, very well. So it's a high recommendation for me. I really liked The Barn. 3.5 out of 5 as well on Letterboxd. And it's a good time. So check it out. It's on Tubi, streaming for free. Why not? See it for yourself. Subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you like to listen to my voice, or if you like my film reviews. I'll be back with more when I can. Check out what's on the channel. Subscribe if you're interested. And until next time, have a good one and cheers.